Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So today we will be reviewing your submissions. The last time I had assigned the summary and both directed writing and composition tasks. Now we have some submissions. Right? So let's take a look at what you guys have done. Starting off with the summary. Just a sec. Okay. Bakar, you have not been making submissions with your recent work. Right? I am concerned. Obviously, you have your paper coming up. Hey, you'll submit it tonight, but I'm checking it right now. I did tell you guys the next thing we'll be doing is review. That's why I assigned it to you. I put in the reminder. Okay, so this is the summary. First up, 144. So that's obviously less than 150. So as far as the word count goes, that works. The disadvantages of the fitness app, I kind of remember these points more or less. Let's just take a look at them again. So it's become outdated, that's the point. And monthly subscriptions and sharing information and addiction and unnecessarily competitive and takes away the joy and peer pressure. Okay, and for it's not good for your mental health, all those points, and running down your phone battery and going further than you need to. So those are the points. Let's see. Not only has the fitness app become outdated, but also it requires the user to regularly pay a good amount of money to get all the features. Now, as I've mentioned before, for certain terms, for certain words and certain terms that are sort of established, right? You do not need to rephrase each and everything. So I understand that you have uh, used this to regularly pay a good amount of money, but you can go with monthly subscription, right? So the requirement to use your own words as far as possible, right, does not mean 100%, right? Now, from an experienced guess, I would say at least 70%, right? But obviously, you can go up till 85, 90, maybe 95, maybe 100%, right? I'm saying at least, and that maybe would still leave room for further, what you call it, rephrasing, right? And so maybe you possibly again, right, because it depends on the requirements of that particular session, uh, the marking scheme of that particular session, that maybe there was room for more rephrasing. So maybe you'd lose 1 or 2 marks over there for you know, quality of your writing, right? Possibly. So but still a good place to start is 70% minimum and then go up. But again, if there are certain established terms or uh, there are words which are difficult to exchange for a synonym, then you can keep those words. That being said, of course, there's nothing wrong with this because you are within the word limit. So that is criteria number one. So the user requires the user to regularly pay a good amount of money to get all the features. People can develop an addiction to the app while wanting to show off their achievements. Users start viewing the exercise as a competition, which causes them to work excessively and overtrain. Moreover, it uploads personal data to social media without the person's consent. Users also feel pressurized to share everything on the app. People compare their progress with others. Uh, you can probably skip this, right, for avoid of repetition, uh, which causes them to lose spirit and also feel bad about their goals. It takes away the enjoyment from the activity. Receiving negative comments on the app can poorly affect one's mental health and progress. Additionally, having the app constantly running during exercise can drain the device's battery, leading to difficulty in case of emergency. I think you've covered all the points that need to be covered. So good job on that. Now, second one is you are Ned and someone's talking about getting a personal trainer. They say that's a waste of money. So I believe that having a personal trainer is in fact an excellent use of money and you should definitely get one. Apart from improving your workout, they can help you develop healthy habits which aid your progress. Moreover, they're always there to advise you anytime so you can work at your own pace and not worry about taking a wrong step. I think that works. Right? So good on that. And back to you. And for the time being, let's take a look at Haram submission. So since we've already taken a look at the points and the questions, let's jump to so I believe this part is the summary.
Yeah.
128. Fitness apps can affect a users. Now I know I used an, but it's a. And this is sort of like tricky. Why is the rule of thumb not being applied over here? And that's because the user, I guess, sounds like the U with YOU, which starts with a Y, and that's why. There are certain cases, I could be wrong about the reasoning for this, but in any case, it won't be an in this particular usage. Uh, Fitness apps can affect a user's self-esteem and make them discouraged. Again, make them discouraged. You can phrase this better, right? And discourage them. Right now, I don't believe that is the wording used in the text. Is it? It is. They have used discouraged. Discouraged when they had written faster. So if we could look up something for discouraged. So you have all of these. Disheartened would work, dispirited would work, demoralized would work. Yeah, any one of those three. Not depress and disappoint. Uh, yeah, we'll just stick with those. So you could use either of those. Where are we? The spirit. Even though these apps have become outdated for the new generation, many millennials still use them and pay a lot of money on the subscription. These apps are the epitome right, of privacy invasion, and can leave a serious impact on one's mental health. It takes away the joy of writing, as one might write just to seek validation from others about the number of miles they have covered. Negative comments from others can hurt one's feelings, and these fitness apps' main focus is on scores, because of which people go beyond what their bodies can handle just to increase those scores. Okay. Users post about everything on this app to seek approval from others. I feel there's a bit of repetition at the end. So there is the outdated, the subscription, the posting addiction, competition, and discouragement, taking away the joy. Uh, we did mention mental health, I believe. So there's the mental health. I think you have the number of points, so that works. Okay. No, they are not a waste of money. My personal trainer and new friend, you can connect easily, and there's a sense of trust. You feel comfortable and can be your true self. Asking needs advice when I need it. You can ask for guidance and advice when. Okay, two things. First of all, kind of make it like proper whole sentences. It sort of like seems like you're putting in notes, right? Incomplete sentences that do make sense, but they're not grammatically sound. Secondly, when you need to expand on the detail, that does not mean you just rephrase. Right, so this point is basically rephrasing. Asking Ned's advice when I need it. You can ask for guidance and advice whenever you need it. So it's the same thing. Right. So for this, you could say that the trainer is available for you whenever you obviously need advice on something that maybe you want to try, or maybe a predicament that you are in, and they can probably offer you guidance on how to deal with that situation. So that is the extension. Okay, so they're always available as a helping hand, right, or a trusted source of advice. Just like you did for the first one. The first one you did, I believe, correctly. So my personal trainer and new friend, you can connect easily, and there's a sense of trust. So that is expanding on the trainer and friend part. You feel comfortable and can be a true self, which is something that you would want to be with a friend, and how you want to be. So yeah. So similarly for this part. So just simply rephrasing it is obviously not going to work. Okay. So I will return that to you. All right. Next up, I'll leave one for later if you have time at the end. Let's take a look at dieted writing, and we unfortunately two guys. So Dua's no longer uh, taking classes, unfortunately. Right. And Haran, no submission from you either for this one.
Yeah, because I'm having like a bit of difficulty with this.
In dieted writing,
Yeah.
what difficulty exactly?
I have like written it in the rough, but I haven't submitted it well. Yeah. So I might submit it till the night.
Hmm. I mean, are you facing any problems with the actual task, how to get the points and how to write it?
Yeah.
You have
Like with the rephrasing part,
with the what part?
rephrasing
Okay.
and expanding.
Okay. So what can I help you?
I have already written, but
Obviously, when you submit it, I can offer you feedback, right, for how to
yeah,
rephrase and how to expand. So yeah, that is
yeah.
why homework is important. Okay, so we have these points for the positive aspects, right? Safety and parents are happier, and research and organization and scheduling, and photos and videos and responsibility. Whereas for the negatives, distraction, limiting creativity, and difficult for teachers to follow, where the student needs help. They are expensive and cause stress, cause envy among friends, and addiction. Okay. So your school principal is considering banning mobile phones in schools and has asked students for their views. You have read the views of two students. Write an email to your principal saying whether or not you think mobile phones should be banned. Evaluate the ideas and opinions in both texts. Give your own views about the proposed ban based on what you have read in the texts. Base your email on what you have read in both texts, but be careful to use your own words. Begin your email with dear principal and supply a suitable ending. Okay. Right. So the first thing obviously is formal tone. Right. I did not highlight that. That was required because you're writing to your principal. Then let's read ahead. So you have your intro. You have turned this into 4 paragraphs. Okay. Uh, does it say, right, has asked students for their views? Okay. So as per your instruction, you could say instruction, you could say request. I want to obviously read through this first before going into editing. So I'll just contain myself. So as per your instruction, I am writing to share the pros and cons as well as my views about whether mobile phones should be banned at our school. Having their phone with them when away from home allows students to feel a sense of security, knowing they can contact trusted people whenever needed. It's fair, that would be, it's fair enough as our country has become increasingly safe. I think you mean unsafe. Yes, every idea does not need to be evaluated, right? Evaluation, as I mentioned, is something that comes overall, right? So you could take multiple points, like 2 or 3 points, and bring them together, as I do believe I've done like, on the whiteboard in earlier classes. You can take 2 or 3 points and then you can bring them together and then offer a point of evaluation. We could evaluate a certain point in slightly more detail as compared to something else that you're doing, right? So it is something that is mixed in with the overall piece that you are writing. Right, just to, yeah, so evaluation and analysis, right? The question does not ask you for analysis, but it is the development of points, right? Just like over here, uh, you mentioned that it's fair because the country has become increasingly unsafe, so that you are developing that point further. Parents too are less hesitant to send their children outside alone when they have a phone, as they can easily keep track of their whereabouts. Right, so contacting at any time and keeping track of their whereabouts. There are obviously apps where you can track your child's phone, right? So yes. Moreover, mobile phones make research a lot more efficient, which of course allows students to improve the quality of their work. So again, right, this is the evaluation and the development, right? The text only mentions making research easier. You don't have to go around and carrying loads of heavy books and all that. you could have taken that point as well, obviously, right? It becomes more efficient in the sense, of course, I haven't read ahead, but it makes it more efficient in the sense that you do not need to carry loads of books, and at the end of the day, those books are limited in what they contain, whereas having a phone and then internet access or apps gives you, right, lets you tap into near infinite information. Okay, so more efficient, of course, allows students to improve the quality of their work. Students can use mobile phones to become more organized. They can use reminders and alarms for important tasks. This is a great benefit for people who struggle with time management. Always having one's phone with them allows them to capture special moments which they can save forever. Being in charge of a valuable possession like a mobile phone also inculcates a sense of responsibility. It's true. Okay, so those are all the pros. However, mobile phones are not all about benefits. Okay, I like that line. Using them in class can divert attention and disturb the student's focus. This will obviously be a capital D over here, so that's a typo. Due to this, students often leave class with incomplete work. Easy access to the phones can keep students from using their imagination and critical thinking. Valid enough as it can make students heavily dependent. So there should be E over here on their phones. It is it is difficult for teachers to identify weak areas the student uses their phone for work. This can cause the student. So one thing is the word student is being repeated quite a bit. We can do away with it. Try to at least. Uh, this can cause the student problems during tests and exams. Students may compare their mobile phone at school, which can create jealousy and rifts in friendships. A very justifiable disadvantage of phones is the tendency to make the user addicted. Phone addiction is terrible and significantly impacts a student's performance. In my opinion, although mobile phones have several disadvantages, they shouldn't be completely banned at school. Instead, there should be specific hours where students would be allowed to use their phones. In case help from phones should, sorry, in class, not in case. In class, help from phones should only be taken when the teacher suggests. Okay, so your overall vocabulary is good. Right, you've used words such as inculcates and drifts and others, obviously. So that's good. So, uh, tweaking, slight tweaking is what I'll be doing. So, okay. So you said phone over here, phone over here. So we can skip the phone. I mean, we could use mobile phones and then mobiles and then phones separately just to add that variation. And we could also use the term device or gadget, right? Again, to add variation to all of this instead of just repeating the same thing over and over again. So, so over here, I'm going to change this with device. It should fit in with the context. Obviously, you could say with which device, the context is there. Now, since I changed it to singular, probably have to adjust over here as well. And keep so over here. This is a valid enough argument. So you can see, right, these are not mistakes per se, adding a bit of variety to the vocabulary, like these particular students and phones that have been repeated throughout. Another thing I'm noticing is you're like you could try and turn these sentences into longer sentences, right? So instead of having concise like sentences, which is, I mean, on its own it's fine, but you want to add that variety, that is a requirement, right? So you add the which makes it a complex sentence, right? And complex sentences are the uh, sort of way of showing off that, yeah, you know how to do this, you know how to make sentences. Okay, use them over here in class, comma. So you have sort of taken a neutral. It's not exactly neutral, but you tried to go halfway. Like, okay, fine, there should be some restriction, but not a complete ban. Okay, is my opinion paragraph enough to cover the second bullet point? Now, I would say no, right? As I have suggested, uh, what you should do, right, is since you are in, right, you're taking like the middle ground. So in this case, what you can do is take a point of advantage from here or something of your own, right? So you can add advantages that, like, if you don't want to change this, it is at 350 words or 351 words when we started off, right? So you were at the upper limit. So you could take a point of advantage and a point of disadvantage from either what you've already written. So obviously remove it from those paragraphs and I'd include those in your concluding paragraph where you're giving your opinion, or you can leave them as they are and add something new, right? Adding your own relevant points, your experiences. That's another thing that the mark scheme says. If you recall, I shared that with you that the evaluation and development includes not only developing a point further, but sharing experiences or sharing other relevant points not given the text. And with that, right, whatever side you're taking, you have some points, 2 points, hope at least, I guess, right? 2 points to further, you know, hit your strengthen your argument, right? To hit your argument home, as the phrase is. So over here, just giving like a plain opinion is not enough, right? Again, you're taking the middle ground, so you would like to mention one benefit. That, okay, fine, it does have a benefit, and it would be better, right? Maybe, I mean, it depends on how it turns out. That you sort of take a benefit and a drawback that are sort of, of the same type, right? So for example, it does help you with research, but it does limit creativity, right? And you put those together, so like these are two sides, right, which do come together, and they're facts, and so, right, timings should be limited, and they should be used in class only when suggested by the teacher. And so, right, so that makes your conclusion and your stance supported by argument, and instead of just like, no, this is what I think. So that's not what we want. All right. Return that. Now we do have, but I'm going to leave it for the moment. Let we move on to the composition. Ah, interesting. You did not do the composition, Afin. What a surprise. Okay, let's take a look at Haram's submission. Tab 2. Okay. It is short. Haram. First thing, it's short. It's 284 words. Alright, so you are 64 words short of the minimum requirement. Okay. Write a story which includes a sentence, what do you mean you forgot? A group of scouts decided to go to the forest to explore, have fun together, and complete their assigned tasks. Early in the morning, they all got on the bus, excited and talking about the day ahead. Each scout had to bring one important item with them. During the journey, they shared stories, played games, and admired the scenery together. They also listened to music and moved along with the rhythm of the music and enjoyed it. After some time, they reached the forest. They set up their camp, put up tents, and organized the things. Then they paired up and started exploring. Each scout carried a water bottle, and their main task was to sell cookies. So they went to nearby. It just occurred. I mean, like you're talking about forest and then nearby houses. I mean, okay, right? I mean, it does happen obviously, but we started off with going to the forest to explore, and then you switch gears, and you're going to nearby houses to sell cookies, and that's their main task. So the problem with this is why I suddenly stopped is because that shows that your story is it you didn't think out the plot very well. Like it feels like the plot is shifting midway, right? You start off by saying something and then you move to something else, right? There is no exploration apparently. After roaming for almost an hour, they managed to sell their cookies and felt very proud of themselves. Later, they all gathered at the camp and decided to go home. So yes, right, no exploration, which kind of defeats the opening line, right? And these are things that affect the quality of your writing, even if it's well written, even if there aren't any punctuation or grammatical or spelling mistakes or vocabulary, even if the plot is not thought out, if it is not coherent, if it's not organized well, then those are features of a narrative that will affect your mark. So later they all gathered at the camp and decided to go home. But when they started heading outside, they realized they had forgotten the way. Everyone started panicking and asked the scout who was supposed to bring the map to check it for the way out. On hearing this, the scout's face turned pale, and with a trembling voice, anxiously replied, I forgot it. It set everyone's heart racing. Then the head scout asked, what do you mean you forgot it? One scout said, I knew something like this would happen, so I kept a map with me. Everyone felt relieved on hearing this and started following the map. All of them reached their desired destination happily and safely. They all ended the day on a happy note and were proud of their teamwork for selling all the cookies. Okay, so what I can offer you is some, corrections with what you have, obviously, right? First thing is either you change this paragraph. I mean, well, not the sharing stories part, but having important assigned tasks in the forest, because that's obviously not what's happening. Or if you want this, right, then you have to change everything else. Now you're short in words, right? So you basically skipped the selling part, right? So what you could do is add some detail to how they managed to sell the cookies to people around the forest. Uh, and over here you could add a bit more suspense and build up, that okay fine, they didn't immediately come up with a map or something. Or you could make it that the scout who forgot that he had it. It's kind of like a that forgetful friend kind of thing, that they did have it but they forgot. Or you could make it that he says he forgot it, and then someone else comes in and checks their backpack and they do find it in there. A bit of suspense and drama over there, and like, oh, you did bring it, and like he said, oh, I forgot it, put it there. Or maybe like, oh, I don't remember putting it there, so maybe my mother put it in there, right? Or something, right? So uh, to add to the story and to obviously add to the word count.
Okay.
Now, another thing is, this is obviously a simplistic story, very straightforward, very linear, very, I would say, even basic, right? It works, but right, again, simple, basic, simplistic stories can score well overall. But out of 25, I mean, I don't normally talk about marks at this level. I guess like 20, maybe, right? Is what I would be looking at. I could be wrong again, right? It's up to the examiner, it's up to the head examiner. I am not in that category, obviously. Right? But from experience, I would say, given that you are appearing for your Cambridge, you might and like get for a good mark you'd get a 20, right? But obviously there are other mistakes, and so right 20 would not be what you're getting. You'd get less than that, right? Maybe like a like if I were giving you a mark, I'd give you, I guess, like 17 or something like that over here, right? For the reasons I've already mentioned. But then again, that is from the teacher's perspective, right? So the perspective of examiners for Cambridge, for the Cambridge exam, is different. Their marking criteria are different, so marks can vary. Anyway, with the time we have left, so we don't need the then. You can just say the. You you've typed it out, and I'm going to kind of assume that the lack of space or you missing the full stop is a typing error. Yeah, okay, so I mean, I guess I don't have a lot to suggest over here. Again, it's very basic, it's very simplistic. So I would suggest in your case perhaps be a bit more adventurous, although the examinations are just around the corner. Right? So maybe try to be slightly more adventurous, not gravely so.
Yeah.
All right. So with this, Aram, hopefully my feedback, right, is something you'd consider. I'm returning this to you. And with that, right, that's the end of class for today. And tomorrow, right, we'll start with a new set of papers. Sure. All right. So see you guys next time.
Allah. And
Allah.